this fun video to do this extended half double crochet between stitches. This is a great textured stitch. It's perfect for dishcloths, blankets, and so much more. So let's go ahead and talk about the supplies. Today I'll be using a size H Furls Streamline hook. I love this line and I love all the different colors they have. I'll be using the Dishy worsted weight yarn. I'm going to be using a gray in the color Clarity for this one, as well as 2 stitch markers to keep track of those rows. So let's go ahead and get started by chaining 36. Now this can be easily adjusted. You just need to simply chain the length that you want and you can get going. It's not a complicated stitch pattern. For this, I will be working 36 stitches for every single row, and the first stitch in every single row will be an extended single crochet. I prefer to do these versus chaining at the beginning of every single row, so that will replace any chains. So since I've chained 36, I'm going to start in the very first chain from the hook for this because I'm not using a turning chain. I will insert my hook into the very first chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, and now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both, and now insert your hook back into this left loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both again. This completes the very first stitch of our row, which is an extended single crochet. I like substituting that for the very first half double crochet of the row because it does not need that turning chain. For the rest of the stitches in this row, we will be working the extended half double crochet. To do an extended half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the very next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and only pull through the first loop on the hook. We still have 3 loops on the hook here, so we're going to yarn over and finish that by pulling through all 3 of those loops on the hook. So let's do that again. Yarn over and insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Here's our extra step, yarn over and pull through the very first loop on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. That just extends that half double crochet a little bit and creates a really nice texture. So we're going to go ahead and do the extended half double crochets for the rest of the chains in our very first row. So simply do that across and then come on back. Now after working the extended half double crochets for the very first row in 36 stitches, we're going to turn and we are going to be working the extended half double crochet stitch again. However, for this row, we're going to add a little bit of a different twist on it. For the very first stitch in the row, I will still be doing the extended single crochet. However, we're going to start working in between the stitches. So instead of working through the top loops here like we normally do, we're going to be working in between the stitches in this row. So I'm going to start by inserting my hook between the first 2 stitches, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both those loops on the hook, insert your hook back into that left bar, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both, and that completes the very first stitch in this row, which I like to mark so that I can keep track when I come back across. Now we're going to do those extended half double crochets for the rest of the stitches in this row. So I'll yarn over, insert my hook between the stitches, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first loop on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. So that extended half double crochet, but we're working between the stitches to add a little bit of a different texture to this that I like and is reversible. So go ahead and work the extended half double crochet stitches all the way across, working between the stitches in the row below, and then when you get to that last stitch, come on back and I'll show you how to work it. Now as we come to the end of this row, I've worked my last extended half double crochet between the last 2 stitches, but we want to keep our stitch count exactly the same. I want to maintain 36 stitches. So for my very last stitch, I'm going to go ahead and do an extended half double crochet right into that stitch by moving my stitch marker. And that will be the last stitch that we work. It will just be into that last stitch like normal. And then we're going to go ahead and turn our work. We're going to just simply be repeating row 2 until we get to the height that we prefer, either for a washcloth or whatever. If I'm going to make a stitch pattern and practice one, I love getting something out of it, so a washcloth is perfect for that. So just remember, you'll start your very first stitch in the row between the first 2 stitches. We're working this as an extended single crochet, and then we'll go ahead and mark it. And then we'll simply be working that extended half double crochet. We're going to be doing that in between the stitches across the entire row, and then we work the last stitch like regular into the last stitch, and that is such a fun texture pattern. So work that up until you get a square and then come on back. Once you've completed the amount of rows to make this square or a rectangle, you can continue to make it whatever size you like. I did 23 total rows here. It's time to do a nice border to finish off this washcloth. So to do this, what I like to do is I like to slip stitch around all the edges first, and then I come back and do either a single crochet, half double crochet, or double crochet edging. On this one, I'm going to do single crochet. So to start, I'm going to do a chain 1 just to nicely round out that corner, and then I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to be doing about 2 stitches for every 3 rows. I find works out great when it comes to anything half double crochet. But just make sure when you're slip stitching around that it's not causing any puckering and it's sitting quite nicely. So slip stitch around this entire border, and when you get to the corners, be sure to do a slip stitch, a chain 1, and a slip stitch in the same corner stitch. That will help it not pucker on the corners and lay flat. So go ahead and work that all the way around and then come on back. Now that I've worked all the way around with the slip stitches, it's time to do a single crochet edging. Now you can choose whether you work through both loops of the slip stitch or you can work through the back loop only. A lot of times I prefer working in the back loop only. I just like the clean look of it, but it's really up to you and your preference. I'm going to start by working in this very first chain, and I'm going to do a single crochet. And with that, I'm going to work this as a corner just like I did on the other corners, but this time we're going to be working in single crochet. So I'm going to single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet all into that chain stitch so that my corners lay a bit flatter. Now I'm going to be working these slip stitches by single crocheting in all of them all the way around, and I'm going to be working in the back loop of these slip stitches, but like I said, you can work through both loops if you want. The slip stitch edging really makes it so it's a nice clean transition between the stitches and the border. I really think it's worth that extra work slip stitching around to create a nice washcloth. So go ahead and single crochet all the way around, placing a single crochet, chain 1 single crochet into each chain corner stitch. Once you've worked all the way back around, go ahead and fasten off. I don't slip stitch to join because I love the invisible join. I think it's a nice clean look. So go ahead and take your tapestry needle. And to do this, the invisible join, we're going to work through the very first stitch in our round by inserting your needle underneath both loops. Pull that through. And then insert your needle through the back loop of the last stitch worked and pull that through. It creates kind of a mock stitch on top so that it's an invisible join. Then go ahead and weave in your ends and you have a really nicely textured washcloth. I really love this fun stitch. It's very reversible on each side. This can be used not only as a great texture for something like this to scrub counters, but it's also great in a softer yarn for a garment or even a wrap. Please hit that subscribe button and come back for your next project soon.